Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, send questions or comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable or on our Facebook event page for episode 133, African Lodge number 1. As for introductions, my name is John Ruart, past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia, and newly elected and installed High Priest of Loudon Chapter number 55. So I'm in the hot seat for an appendant body this year. Yeah, and that's Nick laughing at me. So yeah, Nick, spare me and introduce your own self.
Nick Johnson, past stuff of a lot of things in Farmington, Minnesota, the big time.
Thank you. And past High Priest, too. Robert Johnson.
Hello. Robert Johnson, past master of Waukegan Lodge in Waukegan, Illinois, and current secretary, and all sorts of other stuff. Thanks.
You do stuff and things.
Yep.
Jason Richards.
Hey everybody, Jason Richards here, Senior Warden of Acacia Lodge number 16 in good old Clifton, Virginia, and newly appointed Grand Lodge of Virginia Committee Man.
Dun, dun, dun. So you have to do it.
Which is pretty awesome.
That and $1.50 will buy you a soda.
Yeah, but not a cup of coffee.
Not a cup of coffee.
No.
At Starbucks. Speaking of Starbucks number 1 biggest fan, Matt Botts is back on the show. So Worshipful Matt Botts from Diversity Lodge number 330 under the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Virginia. Matt, welcome back.
Because we can't talk about Prince Hall without Matt being on the show.
Thank you.
Good. And our special guest for tonight, Worshipful brother, John Hairston, under the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington. Now, can you remind us all of which lodge you're a member of?
I'm actually in Headquarters Lodge under the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington.
Excellent. Thank you in advance for coming on the show tonight.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. So as usual for this time of the show, let's get to the Masonic news segment. And I wanted to start off again with a shameless plug for the Mid-Atlantic Convocation of Academic Lodges. That's right. One of my lodges, the Patriot Lodge number 1957, is co-hosting a convocation of academic lodges with the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in downtown D.C. at the House of the Temple, Saturday, October 1st. A lot of good stuff lined up. We're going to be going to Gadsby's Tavern. We're going to have some great speakers talking about the academic scheme and the academic lodges, and it's a place to share lessons learned and break bread with other brothers trying to undergo this endeavor. I'll also be speaking, and that's where I'll be talking about some of the statistics data that I got out of the Masonic survey over the summer. So stay tuned to hear more about that after October 1st. Let's see, the next topic we have up is we've had a passing of a big milestone in Masonry, and specifically I'm talking about the end of the Living Stones magazine. Have you guys subscribed to this magazine? I know I was a subscriber for about a year and a half. You guys like it? I mean, I'm not gonna say.
No, it was a great magazine. I mean, Rob Hurd did a fantastic thing with that publication, especially the fact that it was so easily available online. I subscribed to it for a year or two online, and the articles were fantastic. He did a really great job at it.
Yeah.
Read it for the articles.
Yeah, it really was a great magazine. You know, we had, truthfully, 2 great Masonic magazines that came out, and while there are a few others that were out there, you know, they were quarterly or they were really, really expensive. You know, and those 2 were, of course, the Working Tools with Brother Corey Sigler, and the Living Stones with Brother Rob Hurd. And when Corey took his magazine down, we were really so blessed still to have Herd's magazine out, and unfortunately, it's really difficult to run a magazine like that. I've done some print editing in the past, and it's very stressful to get that together every month. And I know he works hard to do it. And the hardest part of all, any editor can tell you, is content. And it's pulling teeth to get content sometimes, to get quality stuff. So
I'm working on a Midnight Freemasons article. Get off my back.
so, Rob Herd, man, what a great 5 awesome years of a great magazine. I guess he's going to go ahead and keep pushing on through just a little bit into 2017. Is that right, John?
Yes, to keep his commitments to his subscribers, which is admirable, as is doing what he did, making that mark on the fraternity, right?
Yeah.
What we do for others, lives beyond us, right? To paraphrase Albert Pike. So
now, is he going to continue offering back issues if there are any, or have they always been sold out? Do we know that?
Great question.
Maybe Brother Rob will shoot us a message and let us know.
Great. So, congrats on a milestone, Brother Herd. I know it's a sad one, but
Absolutely.
here's to doing good work for the fraternity. Another article that brings our fraternity into good light is the recent article on AskMen.com. That's right, a very popular masculine website. Has an inside look at the Freemasons. Jason, I know you found this. You wanted to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so we had a brother who's a big fan of the show who actually sent this to us. His wife actually wrote this article and published it on Ask Men. And it's just a spouse's view of the Masonic fraternity and what it's all about. And it's actually a really fantastic article. Just goes into self-improvement, public service, who the Masons are, a little bit of how they formed and what they do now. So I really love the fact that Freemasonry is getting out there in such a positive light on, in a place where you don't usually see, articles about Freemasonry.
Okay. And the last piece of Masonic news, we're not going to talk about Arkansas tonight. Just go back to last week's and repeat.
The regime in Best Korea is strong.
We make fun of it, but it is sad. It is really sad what's going on. So we only hope that cooler heads prevail, right?
I do have to say one thing about it. Somebody put up a joke Grand Lodge Arkansas page that is absolutely hilarious at times and disgusting at other times. But wow. I mean, I don't even know. Find it. For a good laugh.
Hey, I don't want to endorse anything that's a little risque, but
yeah, it's true.
It should be relatively easy to locate, as the official Grand Lodge of Arkansas no longer has a Facebook page.
Now, in related news to our topic tonight, something that is hot off of the press.
That I'm really pissed off about.
You should be. Keith and Richard no longer a Freemason. Just kidding. It's almost as bad. Right out of Chris Hodap's blog and news from England, where the Quater Coronati Lodge has met recently. Recent evidence shows that there's question about the founding date of the Lodge of Antiquity number 2 Lodge, which is the Grand Lodge of London and Westminster, precursor to the Grand Lodge of England, which became the United Grand Lodge of England. Whereas we're coming up on 2017, therefore 300 years ago, in 1717, that was common knowledge as the founding date for the Grand Lodge of London and Westminster. Until it's not. Where recent evidence shows at the back of one of London Lodge of Antiquity number 2's minute books, the minutes describe that the Grand Lodge of England was not founded in 1717, but 1721. Dun, dun, dun.
So, when I get my master's pins printed for next year, my presumed year in the East, pending the will and pleasure of the brethren of Acacia Lodge, I'm totally just going to have to put 300 in there with a cross out of it, or an X through it, and put in 296 or something
You
like
put
that.
air quotes around it.
Yes.
Well, just put an asterisk, Barry Bonds. That's how he does it. Right?
And I was gonna say on the back of the pen, put a JKLOL.
Yes.
Can you imagine, the Grand Lodge of England's yeah, we're going to do this huge conference. In dedication of this birthday. I'm so excited. 300 years.
So
Let's print out these
ironic.
medals. And all of a sudden they
Birth
print out the medals. Oh, 1721.
Yeah, well, they just got the branding. They've done all this stuff that's been fantastic.
The branding wasn't that good. It's okay.
You're right, but I kept thinking Nick was gonna have a joke there, because he was like, imagine the United Grand Lodge is gonna get all this stuff together and celebrate 300 years, but then they didn't, because they're not doing that at all.
No.
Because
I blame Brexit. That's really what I'm going to do here.
They predicted Brexit. If they are correct in that it is 1721, and therefore the tricentennial would be in 2021, they've got 4 more years to prepare a good party. That's all I gotta say. Because this one that was being planned, a little underwhelming. You got 4 years.
a little. It's like the biggest event in all of Masonry. It has the potential to be. And they were like, the Grand Lodge is going to be closed. There's no ceremony. There's just going to be some stuff.
A banquet.
Because they already knew.
Yeah.
Already knew.
Yeah, they got the precursor to the paper.
Yeah, this changes everything. So,
Yeah.
speaking of changing everything, we'll get to a little bit more history knowledge bombs being dropped on you. But first, let's switch over to everyone's Masonic trivia game show, and that is Masonic Monday question.
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Nick, take it away. And you're still muted.
Oh man, holy smokes! See, I'm just so not prepared. I'm prepared now. Hold on. Here we go. So last week's question was a doozy, and I'm glad it was. Only 5 of you got it correct, which is really good. Well, technically 6. So I'm really proud of the guys who got it right. Jason Mitchell decided that he needed to give more information than was necessary, so thank you for that extra information. The answer was the Triple Union Sovereign Chapter Rose Croix of HRDM, which was founded December 3rd, 1797, by a group of French Masons in the city of New York. This group's charter came about in a dubious manner, but was linked to the Royal Order of Scotland under a Kilwinning origin. One of its famed members is J.J.J. Gugas, past most puissant Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction, who joined that body in 1806 and served as its secretary. So congratulations to Gary Thomas, Joey Boyer, Tyler Mo Slepica, and I'll give it to Jason Mitchell. All right, so the question for the week of September 12th, 2016. American football has evolved from its humble roots as a rugby-style game to what we see today. As experimentation flourished, this brother, whose name still graces youth football programs in the United States, developed a formation that took advantage of extra blocking when it was the tailback, not the quarterback, who led the offense. Although this formation has fallen out of favor, its effects on the game still persist. Who was this famous Freemason and football coach, and in which lodge was he initiated? When you have the answer, send it to MasonicMonday@gmail.com. Don't forget to include your lodge name, your lodge number, and the hashtag #NoGoodMovies. Back to you, John.
One day, there's going to be so many comic book movies that are going to come out. Nick's just, he won't even,
Oh, my God.
he's just going to implode with awesomeness.
Doctor Strange, man.
Okay, Jason, You've done more research than I have this week, so I'm going to hand it off to you to help ease us into this amazing amount of information we're going to have.
So if you all remember, we've talked about Prince Hall history before on the show, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Matt on the show again was because Matt actually gave the history of Prince Hall, and actually I want to play something for everybody to refresh their memories. So here we go.
In 1775, John Batt, then the Worshipful Master of Lodge 441 of Irish Registry, heard of Prince Hall and his plight and accepted his petition for membership. So Prince Hall and 14 other men of color were made masons on Castle William Island approximately March 6, 1775.
Wow!
So, Matt, I wanted to bring you on and say, why did you lie to us?
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Oh,
So, all that was standing, Matt and John are two of my closest buddies, and I have to rib them every chance I get. We all thought we knew the story of Prince Hall. Prince Hall, Free Black, 14 others, the Immortal 15, they received their degrees from Irish Military Lodge number 441 on Castle Island. They get a limited working charter out of that to be able to do one or two things, to include holding Masonic funerals. March 6, 1775. And so picking up Brother John Hairston's book, I was immediately arrested by the fact that the historical sources don't actually point to that whatsoever. So I wanted to use that as an introduction to Brother John here to say, tell us a little bit, first off, about your findings in Landmarks of Our Fathers, and then we'll get into the questions of the greater impacts on Freemasonry as we know it because of your research.
Right. The findings are very simple. After I was one of the people who was a proponent of the accepted narrative of March 6, 1775, July the 3rd, 1776, being when Africa Lodge was allegedly established. I accepted the fact that Irish Military Lodge 441, under the worshipful mastership of John Batt, was the origin of Prince Hall Freemasonry. And then I began looking for the records. After reading Charles Wesley's book, Harry Davis's book, it sort of urged me to go and search for the records of Africa Lodge, which, according to their books, those records were housed in the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. So I called for about 2 weeks straight. Sister Cynthia Alcorn, out of surrendering in mercy to my relentlessness, she finally asked me for my address and sent me a copy of the microfilm, in which the actual handwritten records of Africa Lodge were on. So after getting them, I began to go to the Seattle Public Library, pull all of the records off of the microfilm, and begin doing a research for about 1.5 years of the records. And the first thing that popped out to me was that I found no documentation whatsoever, no minutes, nothing dating from the year 1775 to 1778. The oldest record on the microfilm was actually March 6, 1778, which there are 2 documents dated March 6, 1778.
That's a big deal, right? That's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is a huge deal, because then it began to cause me to question the whole 1775 date. And so I begin to delve further, and once I begin to ask questions, I sent a draft of an article that I was going to write questioning the date. And I sent it to Ezekiel Bay, past Grand Historian for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York. I sent it to Ralph McNeil. Both of these brothers are my mentors out of Arizona. They read it and they said, "Oh, you got something." And so the more I delved into researching and doing the background of the story, I began to question everything, every single thing. And as I continued to go through the records, as I continued to question the narrative, I began to just uncover a lot of facts regarding the true origin of Africa Lodge number 1. And it all started from there. And so I stopped writing the article. I then decided this is a book. And so that's what started me in the process of actually publishing the book.
That's incredible. Like, you're going along, having all these facts, quote, air quotes, facts, and here you go, like, you have to almost throw everything away and just say, you have to unlearn it, right? And you just have to build this all back up. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was sort of shocking at first, because then after doing the first initial draft of the book, I actually sent it to the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Massachusetts and the Conference of Grandmasters for Prince Hall, because I wanted them to either refute what I had. And in the email, I stated to them that should they be able to produce a document dating from 1775 to 1777, I would stop publishing of the book, period, because you have effectively refuted the book. So with that being stated, I sent them the manuscript. I received a phone call from one of the past grandmasters there. They immediately began to show me that there was really no documentation that they held or possessed from 1775 or 1777. That's when I knew that I was on to something. And so I began to continue doing more background research. And anyone who has the book, they've seen my bibliography. They know where I've been. They know the places that I went to get the information. And so they know it's all downhill from there.
Well, and never mind the fact, real quick, John, that you put almost all of your primary sources in the text of the book.
Yeah. Right.
So everybody can actually read either the actual sources themselves and or the transcriptions. You've got an appendix that takes up almost half of the entire book. It's incredible. You're giving people the opportunity to make up their own minds about research you've done.
Right.
Is that the way you approach this has been spot on, right? Because you started off with trusting but verifying, right?
Right.
Take someone's word on it. You went and tried to find the primary sources.
Gotcha.
So good on you for that. Next, then you submitted what you had already written for peer review. So it's not just one crazy guy on an island saying, I think, that the world was created yesterday by a flying spaghetti monster. No, you actually said, hey, prove me wrong, right? I've got a hunch. Show me where I'm wrong, because, the truth shall set you free, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it, like I said, it was just interesting. As the book began to progress, the manuscript was sent from Massachusetts to, and I don't know if you brothers have heard of the book All Men Free and Brethren. Okay, so there were actually the authors of those books: Peter Hinks, Stephen Kanowitz, Cherno Sese, and all of these brothers are non-Masons, but they are academic historians. And my manuscript was sent to them based on their work on All Men Free and Brethren. And what started happening was, and I didn't know that my manuscript was being sent to these brothers, but the manuscript's coming back to me through second party sources who are receiving my manuscript in order to debunk it. And so they're calling me, asking me to cite the work. Cherno Sese, he's a professor out of DePaul. He wrote the first chapter out of All Men Free and Brother, gave me a phone call, told me in the most ironic thing that he said to me, because when I read his chapter, I asked him, he said, I had the same records that you had. And I said, well, that's ironic because in your first chapter, you put March the 6th, 1775. And his answer to me was very simple. He says, I did not want to create a disharmony among the Prince Hall brethren.
Whoa.
and that's what he said. He said that he had read the same thing that I said. He held the same sentiments that I did, but he did not want to cause any disharmony among the brothers. And so he didn't say anything at all because he felt like it wasn't his place. And that's why he put March 6, 1775. And so I was like, okay, fine. So now that I know that these particular brothers are receiving a manuscript and then they're coming back to me with the manuscript, I knew that I was on solid ground at that point. I was like, oh, we're all in. Yeah.
So he had the information, but he just did not bring it forward because he did not want to cause disharmony. So therefore, you're still leading your flock over the edge of the cliff because you don't want to disrupt the flow of the flock.
Right. And I gave him a pass because, again, he's not a Mason, although he did work on Masonic literature, All Men Free and Brethren. And so I sort of was like, okay, I can sort of understand what you're saying. But to me, as a historian, if you're going to write it, I was always taught, write the discovery. We don't write to preserve the accepted narrative. We write the discovery. And so that's what I chose to do. I knew I was going to take some heat. I was being told this all behind the scenes. Tony Pope, Michael Poe, all of these brothers who actually had an opportunity to read the manuscript before it was published was telling me that you're going to take a lot of heat. And I was like, let's do it.
I'm sure that's the only controversial thing you found, right? So just the date was wrong, right? Nothing else.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No,
Wait.
There's nothing about Irish Military Lodge not actually having a role in this whatsoever, right?
Right. That was the second thing because again, most of the extant letters by Prince Hall that were preserved at the United Grand Lodge of England, the Massachusetts Historical Society, in other places, Harry Davis's book, Joseph Walk's book. When I began to read the letters, I never saw him mention Irish Military Lodge number 441. The most intriguing documentation was the letter that he wrote to William Moody in 1784, trying to enlist him as a liaison between Africa Lodge number 1 and the Grand Lodge of England for a charter. And in this letter, he's speaking about the lodge itself, and he says that the lodge had been working almost 8 years under a permit from John Rowe. No mention of John Batt, no mention of Irish Military Lodge number 1, which I found intriguing. And then on the actual documentation from 1778, you don't find Irish Military Lodge 441. You find the name of John Batt. And so it was amazing. So I was like, oh, wow, could it be that Irish Military Lodge? And so I began to delve. I wrote to the Grand Lodge of Ireland, spoke with Rebecca Hayes, who is the Grand Archivist out there. They have no record from Irish Military Lodge 441 of any initiation, 14, 15 black men, which they said was uncommon to actually have that many people initiated on a day.
So what's John Baez doing? So what's John Baez doing then?
Well, to me, what I believe was John Batt found an opportunity. Now, the book will tell you John Batt was actually with Irish Military Lodge number 441. Whether he was a worshipful master or not is debatable. According to the Grand Lodge of Ireland, they state they have no record of him, but to be fair, they say no records up until 1813 for officers was available for them. So whether he was a worshipful master or not, that's debatable. But we know that Irish Military Lodge left Boston on March the 17th, 1776, and went to Halifax for a 2-month period before they entered the New York campaign. And with that being stated, John Batt's with them. Irish Military Lodge is gone. And so Irish Military Lodge continues on into the New York campaign, and in 1781, they're one of the founding lodges for the Grand Lodge of New York, and even had a couple of their members who became Grand Lodge officers under the Grand Lodge of New York. Now, after 1783, Irish Military Lodge, along with the 38th Regiment of Foot, left New York and went on to England. And then in 1794, they went on into the French Revolutionary War, where they lost their charter and all of that. So I have all of those records. So John Batt is actually discharged from the military in 1777 on February the 23rd. And so so once I saw that, I said, oh, hold on, here is a possibility that John Batt was the only person that initiated these people. Now, he's no longer with the 38th Regiment, which means that he's no longer with Irish Military Lodge number 441. They're back in England. He's discharged. So now let's find him. So I began to do a search, and I ran across a author in his website, Don Haggis. He's one of the most renowned minds for Revolutionary War, both Continental and Loyalist. And on his website, he has so much different stuff. So I wrote to him and I asked him, some questions regarding the 38th Regiment of Foot. He began to send me photographs that all types of information that he had found, where it shows that John Batt had re-enlisted in the Continental Army on December of 1777. So we have John Batt discharged in New York, 1777, February 23rd, but we have him listed as a soldier, a hired soldier in the Continental Army on December of 1777. So we got him back in Boston. Wow. So yeah, in 1777. So it gets intriguing. So now I start looking for the military records of John Batt. And the interesting thing about him is that now we're finding the fact that he was actually enlisted in 1778 again by Joseph Duckerley. Now, that's an interesting name because Joseph Duckerley was a member of St. Andrew's Lodge, but he was also a brother who deserted the 38th Regiment of Foot, came to Boston and joined the Continental Army. So here we have a person who was also a member of the same regiment as John Batt, back in Boston, enlisting him in the Continental Army in 1778. And so then I find another record on May the 28th, 1778, where Sergeant John Batt was being paid. So I have John Batt in Boston, Massachusetts, during the time of March 6, 1778. His name is on both of the 1778 records as one, and one of them is Grandmaster. It's Grandmaster. So that's what John Batt was doing.
Jurisdiction of one.
Yes, a jurisdiction of one. He conferred the degrees on the brothers. This is what the records state. This is not something that we're trying to gather from what's being stated. It said Grandmaster Batt, who made these brothers. Prince Hall's name's the first one. You got 15 brothers listed. And it's got the payment at the bottom of the record. It shows what he was paid. And so, and again, none of these records are reflecting that Irish Military Lodge had anything to do with it. So anyone who says Irish Military Lodge number 441 did the initiation, they have an uphill battle.
Bots.
They have an uphill battle in trying to document any support for that position. Yeah.
This is insane. I mean, just like, I don't even know, maybe a month ago, I was in a lodge where they were giving a primer to PHA Masonry because they were going to go visit as a lodge, a Prince Hall Lodge. Mm-hmm. And I corrected them in stating that they were chartered by Irish Military Lodge. And now I gotta go back. I gotta tell them, like, no, now you gotta get this book. You guys gotta check this out.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I wanted to ask you just really quick, kind of going back, you know, through all this. I mean, you said, you know, you're going to ruffle some feathers, you're going to take some heat. Did you find that, like, there's the guys who will go, yeah, this guy's right, but I don't like that he's putting it out there. I don't want to make waves. But did you find like the other side, maybe like some cognitive dissonance, right? Like guys just, they don't want to read the facts. They don't want to read your book because they don't want to come, they don't want to know.
Wow.
You get into that? I'm just curious.
He must be a prophet.
Okay.
But yeah, I met those. I've even had brothers boycott the book. And that's just real talk. They boycotted the book. They're not buying it because they believe, in their words, it's he's making up stuff. And in the point that I wanted to do, and I went so far, is to create a discussion group for the book. And I did this purposely because I had never seen an author to create a discussion group around a controversial book, which would allow the readers to come poke holes in it. Anybody, come poke holes in the book. And so I created this group so we could ask the tough questions. You can question anything in the book, and we'll go through it. We'll discuss it. We'll put the documentation up. And so you got brothers, like I said before, who decided, okay, we're going to boycott the book. Other people who hear it and it's like, oh, we're just not accepting this. This is what I've been taught. This is what I'm sticking with. And the funny part is their documentation are all secondhand sources that are 100 years after the fact. And I'm actually writing the book and stating the facts from primary handwritten documents and minutes from Africa Lodge themselves.
Beautiful.
You know. And so I'm trying to figure out what are you standing on?
Let me go back to something.
Their past master told them that, and their past master told them that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just hearsay. It goes down the line, and
Exactly.
if you say anything that disrupts the harmony of my past master, because he walks on clouds and he creates mountains with his hands, and he wrote the Constitution along with all the degrees and the OBs and the rituals.
Right.
Then it's just
So I got one more thing we need to establish here.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying that John Batt was in the right place, did not have the authority, what I'm hearing then is that Prince Hall and the Immortal 15 were created clandestinely.
Yeah, that's just the fact of the matter. The brothers who were considered Immortal 15, they were created Masons without authority. John Batt, I actually wrote to, and I wrote to every single source because I wanted to make sure that there was no way that this could be overturned. So I wrote to the Grand Lodge of England. I wrote to the Grand Lodge of Ireland. I wrote to the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. I wrote to St. Andrew's Lodge, and actually got a chance to speak with their secretary about, did John Batt ever join this lodge? Would you all have given a person the authority to initiate Masons? And the Grand Lodge of Ireland says no. If there was no lodge present, no charter present, the brothers would not have been made. Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, John Batt is not a part of this Grand Lodge, never was. The St. Andrew's Lodge, even in their records, is a provincial Grand Lodge, no John Batt. There's no record of John Batt being a part of a lodge at this time. He was discharged. The lodge went on to England. He came back to Boston. He was one man. He saw an opportunity and he took it. He got paid and he conferred these degrees on the brothers. And yes, I say that these brothers were made clandestinely. Now, there's
all at the same time.
Now, on March the 6th, 1778, they were all initiated at the same time, but they weren't all raised as Master Masons. There are some versions of the story that says that these brothers were all made Master Masons on March the 6th, 1775. This is not true. The second document that I actually put in the book, and it's actually the cover of the book, is a March 6, 1778 registry. Now, on the this registry is actually divided into three columns. The first column is all entered apprentice. The second column is all fellow craft, and the third column is Master Masons. Now, in these columns, certain names, you can see them in the entered apprentice, fellow craft, and the Master Masons, which suggests that this is a progression of a brother through the degrees. Now, the thing that caught me about this document was in the third column, there were dates attached. Yes, you see it. There's dates attached in the third column. Like you can see Prince Hall, Grandmaster 1778. But then you see under him, Thomas Sanderson, it says Secretary, Made Master, and then it says 1778. Then you see Prince Ford, Made Master, and it says May 30th, 1778. So what these dates are is when they were made Master Masons. Now, the reason why I know that this, and here is the profound truth, because Lancaster Hill, you'll see, is got his date. He is the treasurer, and it says Made Master June 23rd, 1779. Okay, this is when Lancaster Hill was made a Master Mason. I actually have the record dated December the 28th, 1778, when Prince Hall made him an Enter Apprentice. Because in June the 10th, 1778, John Batt deserted the Continental Army. He deserted. And so if you notice at the top of the document, I don't know if you could scroll down the document to the top. Yes, you see it says entered apprentice, fellow craft masters made by the worthy and amiable Grandmaster John Batt. Okay, but you also see Prince Hall listed as a Grandmaster as well. Mm-hmm. What happened was John Batt, when this all happened, it's just obvious. He was the first Worshipful Master of Africa Lodge. Oh. He was the first Worshipful Master of Africa Lodge.
That just blew my mind.
Hold on. Yeah, you're looking at it. It's right there in front of you. He was the first Worshipful Master of Africa Lodge. He was the worthy and amiable Grandmaster John Batt. Okay. June, everything after June the 2nd that you see here on the record where it says June the 2nd, June the 20th, June the 23rd, everything after June the 10th, 1778, Prince Hall made them all.
Okay.
That's who made them. Master Masons. You understand? So all of the brothers, Lancaster Hill, you see, was June 23rd, 1779. He was actually an entered apprentice. He was made an entered apprentice on December the 28th, 1778 by Prince Hall himself. And if you go look up Lancaster Hill, you will find that this is one of the best friends of Prince Hall. You understand? So Prince Hall actually entered him. And so this is why I said those dates in the third column represents when they were made Master Masons. So this dispels any myth believing that these brothers were all made Master Masons on March 6, 1775, and that they were all made at the same time.
Okay. All right. So we now established some provenance there of who they were made by and by when.
Right.
But they're still clandestine at this point.
Exactly.
So are we going to say that it's still clandestine today? What happened?
No. Again, what I stated in the preface of my book is that the records of Africa Lodge represents 3 stages of Africa Lodge. The first stage is from 1778 to 1784, which was the era of Africa Lodge number 1. In 1784, of course, by liaison of William Moody, Africa Lodge then was issued a charter by the Grand Lodge of England Moderns. Although they didn't receive the charter till 1787, they're still on record as receiving that charter in 1784. So the second era of Africa Lodge is 1784 to 1827. And this is the era of Africa Lodge number 459. The last stage of development of Africa Lodge is from 1827 to 1847. And this is all of the stages of development that's actually housed on this microfilm. And the only stage that I'm dealing with is 1778 to 1784. You understand? That's all I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with Africa Lodge number 1, a critical analysis of the start and origin of Africa Lodge number 1. When they received the charter from England, they became a regular Lodge of Masons. And that's pretty much how that happened. So no, I'm not saying that had any effect on who Prince Hall and the Prince Hall affiliation is today. You understand? They became regular by charter from the Grand Lodge of England.
Remind me of that date again, when they got healed by the Grand Lodge of England?
This is in September of 1774. This is when they were issued the charter by the Grand Lodge of England, although they did not receive it until 1770.
All right, and so that's the date. That's the charter that Prince Hall affiliated holds so dear, right?
Right. That is the charter. Yes.
So here's a question, John. Living in a world where the Prince Hall, the Masonic fraternity, is battling with clandestine Masonry and what they call non-Prince Hall Masons, which is a bit confusing to us, state Grand Lodgers. Do you think that this book opens up opportunities for clandestine Masonry healing across Prince Hall? Do you think it could?
When you says open up clandestine Masons to healing?
Yeah, just saying, look, Prince Hall himself started off as a clandestine Mason.
Right.
He healed himself and his brethren, making them regular in the eyes of the United Grand Lodge of England. Do you think this could open the discussion to help, with the clandestine Mason problem that PHA is facing? Am I making any sense? I'm trying to.
I can understand what you're saying. Here is what I believe regarding the whole issue of clandestine Freemasonry, especially among African Americans. My first understanding is very simple. There's going to be one recognized organization, if you want to call it a predominantly African American Grand Lodge. That is Prince Hall affiliation. That's already been established. It's been established by the Grand Lodge of State. It's been established through the United Grand Lodge of England. The thing about clandestine Masonry, a lot of them may attempt to utilize the book as ammunition. But what they'll find in my landmark summary is that I don't want them to take away the fact that, hey, Prince Hall was clandestinely made. Don't just take that part of the story. Take the whole story. The whole story is that they continued to seek for regularity when they found, because I am a firm believer that Prince Hall found out that the permit was handicapped. He found out that their making was illegitimate, and they went and sought. Let's ask this question. Let's take, hypothetically speaking, the narrative is true that Prince Hall was made in 1775 and left a permit in 1776. Why would he go seek a permit from John Rowe?
Right.
And why, in seeking for that permit, would he make no mention of John Bat?
Exactly, and no mention of Irish Military Lodge number 441. Now, this is my understanding. Because the records show beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is no way anyone can refute that John Bat made those 15 brothers. Period. There's no way to refute that he did it illegally. Period. Now, the reason why he didn't mention them was because he didn't want to hurt his chances of getting the charter, which told me that he understood the fact that John Bat had illegally made them. He understood it. So he said, I'm not going to disclose this part, but I'm going to say that we received, which he did, received the permit from John Rowe, because John Rowe was a provincial Grand Master under the Grand Lodge of England Moderns. You understand? And so he went to William Moody. He didn't go himself. He sent William Moody. He sent William Moody into the quarterly communication to secure the charter. They knew that these brothers were black. That's why they named them African Lodge. But they were well aware that their making was of a questionable and illegal manner. And this is why they went and sought the permit from John Rowe to give themselves. They thought that they were going to receive a charter, but they received a permit that limited them, really. It was a handicap permit. That's what I call it. Yeah, but they knew. And so if they want to take a story away from the book, take that story that these brothers fought until they found regularity. So if you're a clandestine Mason and you want to read the book, take that story and fight for your regularity until you find it.
It's like so inspiring overall. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yes.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
It's one of those cases where the real story is actually so much neater and so much more inspiring than the conventional history and the good history that makes everybody feel better. When you look at this story, it's you see the determination of 15 men to join this fraternity and not only join it but do it the right way.
Exactly.
And their multi-year struggle to be recognized as Freemasons in the appropriate manner, and it's just so inspiring.
So yeah. I would love to. I mean, back to the book. A virtual friend of mine, because we haven't met yet. Worshipful brother Dave Gillum out of Georgia, the great historian down there. Phenomenal gentleman. Love reading all of his stuff. Yeah. His quote on the back of your book is, "This book will change the history of Prince Hall Freemasonry as we know it, and it will force historians to revisit the history of Akron Lodge No. 1 and Prince Hall's entrance into Freemasonry." I think that's a profound quote from the standpoint of, on a daily basis, the Grand Lodge historians, the historians of individual lodges, the historians for the different districts, especially on the Prince Hall side, they have a wide and varied history. And very little of it is written down. I know in the state of Virginia, on the Prince Hall side, our history is wrapped up into a small building. We're working diligently to digitize those records, but we're way behind the times. And I can't speak for every jurisdiction out there, but I know it's difficult. And day by day, history dies. Paper gets water spilled on it, tea, coffee, something along those lines, and it's not taken care of. It's not protected properly. So it fades, it crumbles, or somebody misplaces it. God forbid a cleaning crew comes in and throws away a book from the early 1800s that was the last known constitution of that jurisdiction. You've now lost a year's worth of history. So it's going to force a lot of historians. It's going to change a lot of paths that historians go down, because they have started off. It's been kind of easy for them to go down this narrative that's been proselytized for so long, and now they're going to have to change that narrative. Because I know for our initiates, anybody that comes within my lodge, one of the things that we impose upon them is learn the history of Prince Hall, and be able to talk about that as far as like proficiency goes, because we want you to take some pride in the back end of it and say, hey, this is where our fraternity comes from. So be able to speak to it eloquently, and then be able to back it up with facts. So I've started reading the book. I'm about halfway through. I got it about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I'll be done with it tomorrow, and I'll on that. But it's a great book so far. And one thing that Brother Richard said in the beginning was, you see a lot of books and they're just walls of text. There's nothing in there but walls of text. You have taken the time to not only have walls of text, but to add digital photographs and photocopies of cold artifacts. You cannot dispute the stuff that's coming from the different Grand Lodges that has actually been photographed, superimposed, and put inside the book. The facts are right there. And the appendix is probably a tenth of the book, which is great. So you can actually go back and say, well, where did he get this from? I'm calling bluff on that. He doesn't understand this. He doesn't know that. He's just coming on. He's shooting from the hip on this, and then you go to the back of the book and it's like, oh, this is where he got it from. Oh, all right. Well, now I need to eat crow.
So one of the coolest things, Brother John, piggybacking off of what Matt was saying, is you actually did handwriting analysis as part of this book, and that was one piece in particular that stuck out to me as something that's just really, really cool about the way you went about analyzing the history. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I understand the hesitance of a lot of Prince Hall Masons to accept the book. I mean, you have 200 years of saying the same thing over and over. And then you have to all of a sudden make this free-for-all turn around the corner. And so I get the hesitancy, but there is nothing. Take it like this. Most jurisdictions will actually heal a clandestine Mason. They will accept the brother who's a clandestine Mason and say, oh, you want to come over to PHA? Come on and become regular. So what is different than what happened to Prince Hall? The same thing that happened to most of the brothers that we will look at today and encourage them to come out of clandestinism and go into regular lodges. These brothers were duped. They didn't know Freemasonry. They wanted to. They saw most of the people in Boston, Massachusetts, who were the major players. I'm talking Paul Revere, St. Andrew's Lodge, Colonel Kraft, St. Andrew's Lodge. Most of these brothers, they were Freemasons, and they were fighting for freedom for a republic. So imagine these brothers who are also fighting to abolish slavery in Massachusetts, who are very instrumental in doing so, I must say. But they're looking at these brothers who are the voices of freedom and the new republic, and they're saying, we want this for ourselves, And so they decide Freemasonry is it, because most of the principles that they see being espoused by these brothers are principles of Freemasonry. So they thought, yes, Freemasonry is a way for us to sit on the level of equality in this society. And so they sought it with zeal and passion. And, it happens. They got duped. And so there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's what they did afterwards that really should be celebrated. And that's why I say brothers from Prince Hall should not be ashamed of the information that's in the book. They should embrace it. You understand what I'm saying? It's our mother. And then no matter how much our mother, whatever she's been through, we still accept her.
Yep. All right. So look, the hour's getting late. I've already been accused of falling half asleep here. So I wanted to at least time and say we're gonna have to cut out social media tonight. A lot of good questions. What worked well a couple weeks ago was to have you, John, if you could hop on the Facebook event page, and if they have more questions to ask, if you could hop in and share that, send links back to your Facebook group. I think that would be fantastic to spread the love amongst the brethren.
So brother Oscar Allen, who edited your book, Brother John, is already in the Facebook page helping to answer some of those questions. So we appreciate Brother Oscar doing that.
My brother Oscar.
All right. So how about this? How about we go around for our hosts to not only do their final thoughts, but really chime in and ask you any last questions they have, any last burning questions, and then we'll bring it home. All right. So let's start with Nick Johnson, who's been quiet tonight.
I have been quiet. I've been listening because I found this very fascinating. I was looking at, obviously, somebody asked the question, were they eventually healed? And this is less of a question, more of a statement. And it's kind of interesting when you look at the early history of Freemasonry, just how fluid and flexible it was. I mean, we see, as I wrote on this thing, the modern staid institutions, that are unadventurous, they don't do anything. At that time, it makes perfect sense that, somebody who was persevering as much as Prince Hall was in the pursuit of becoming a Mason, that he would just keep going. And that's exactly what this story is a discussion of perseverance. Mm-hmm. And, the history of the United States, particularly for our black citizens, has always been a story of perseverance in the face of trials and tribulations. And so I think this is a fascinating subject, a fascinating book, and I really thank you, Brother John, for having this wonderful book available for all of us to read. So with that, my name is Nick Johnson, millennialfreemason.com. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Nick. Brother Johnson, number 2.
Where do I even start? This was, I mean, you guys can't see it at home. We have a running chat amongst our members here, on the panel, and within 10 minutes of the episode of Brother John talking, I said, "This is my favorite episode we've ever done." I love it. I'm a huge history buff.
Mm-hmm.
I love facts. I love going back. There's something about me that loves doing the research and discovering something, maybe not new, but maybe just so, turning something on its head and blowing our minds and making something more important than it has ever been before. In this respect, you've done that clearly. You've given us all so much to think about and so much information and ammo, essentially, and not to dispel things like, you're in a Masonic lodge somewhere. Oh, and did you know, by the way, actually, it wasn't an Irish military lodge, and to basically give them the lesson you gave us, but to impart exactly what you said. To take out of the book is like just this inspiring story of pushing for regularity and getting what they wanted. I mean, Masonry must have meant so much at this point to these brothers.
Yes.
And this is a point in history where we're fighting for independence, and it's a story that's not just it's not just Black Freemasonry. This is a story of America. I mean, this is part of it all, and it's so amazing. And I asked you the questions I had, and I was soaking it all up, man. It was so amazing. So thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Really.
Thank you. Well.
All right, Matt Botts. Why don't you come in here?
Those that know me know I love facts. I love going through budgets. I love going through history, and I love pulling out the facts. And I live and die by the facts. Part of my work and everything else. If it's right, it's right. And if it's wrong, and I was following and it was wrong, then I'll change and I'll be right now. And I appreciate that somebody has taken this, and I personally know when you go against the trend, especially within our fraternity, you're looked down upon in a lot of circles, and it's a political game in a lot of instances. So I know when this topic was broached that it was guaranteed that you were you started to raise some eyebrows, which is great because eyebrows needed to be raised.
That's right.
And the envelope needed to be pushed, and that old dusty book on the top of the bookshelf needed to be taken off and dusted off, and let's open it up and read it. Oh my goodness, we were clandy, but we did the right thing. We pursued our faith and our desire, and through our ambition and zeal, Prince Hall did what he had to do to become regular and recognized.
Absolutely.
That's a great history to follow. It changes the narrative completely. I can't wait to finish the book, but it's good that somebody is actually taking that and not bowing down to the pressure that you normally see within the fraternity. Oh, the Grand Lecturer, the Grand Master is looking. He's giving you some extra scrutiny, so the WM doesn't want you to do anything. So you just need to keep that down and don't talk about it too loud outside in public. Well,
right.
You didn't do that. You just said, "Hey, I'm going to do it because it's right."
Exactly.
You lived up to the morals, and you lived up to your personal character and the character of the fraternity as a whole. So I applaud you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Jason, what have you got?
All right. So yeah, Brother John, this is easily one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. So thank you so much for coming on here and just sharing with us your story and your information. It's been absolutely incredible. So one thing I wanted to touch on is that you say Landmarks of Our Fathers is really part one. It's a series. So I got to ask you, okay, you've got this book out of the way. What's next? What are you going to try to do next?
Right now, we're actually in the midst of getting the next book. We've already got the title. We've got the topic. The name of the book is Separate But Equal, Addressing Masonic Segregation. And so we're going in.
Yes.
We're going in.
Offend everyone.
We're going all the way in.
So, Brother John, just a little bit of context. I know the viewers have heard this before, but when we started the Masonic Roundtable, the very first show we had someone suggest the topic of racism in the fraternity, and we had to sit down, the five of us, and say, okay, what kind of show are we going to be? Are we really going to tackle the issues that desperately need to be talked about that will make us incredibly uncomfortable? And it was a unanimous yes. And so it's a breath of fresh air to see that you're doing this as well.
Right. I mean, you come at it like this, man. I mean, when we get uncomfortable, we're growing, right?
Exactly.
You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Over to you, John.
Thanks. All right. Hey, again, thank you very much, Brother Hairston, for joining us. Blew all of our minds and those of our listeners, so we can't thank you enough for the knowledge you imparted. Keep doing what you're doing. And so specifically, you know, I'll say go out and right now buy Brother Hairston's book. You won't be disappointed. The method in which he did his research is immaculate. I mean, if you couldn't tell already, I mean, this guy knows not only knows his information backwards and forwards, but the method in which he did it was subject to such scrutiny that it's airtight. And I really think that every brother, or everyone who's interested in Masonic history, should go out, support this brother, and
Appreciate it.
You know, just keep him doing what he does, because he's doing it great. and you know, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's been an honor, man. I've watched this podcast here. I've seen what you all done. It's a great platform. So many people talk about it. You know, I enjoy it, and it's just been an honor for you brothers to have me on here.
You honor us. Thank you very much. The last thing I'll add is, hey, look, you know, the timing couldn't have been better for some of the information about the United Grand Lodge of England. And
we're in good company.
it's beautiful. It's almost poetic justice, right? That there's all this information that's coming out at the same time.
Right.
You know, truth is going to find its way, and so again, I applaud you for bringing that to light, not holding back, and we'll see what happens out of the Grand Lodge dates. Remember, not 1717 anymore, potentially 1721.
No.
As the doctor would say, time is just wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, right? So it's
timey wimey stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I want to thank you all for watching and keep searching for more light. Have a good night, brothers.